Alright, so, not gonna lie, I've kind of been out of zombies recently. I was planning to do another zombies video a lot earlier, but I kind of haven't really been that into zombies for the past week, and I've really been trying some of the other things that Black Ops 4 has to offer, such as Blackout and multiplayer. I don't know. Multiplayer's fun for a little bit, but then I get sick of it. Blackout is, I just don't like. I don't know why. I can't do it, and I can never get like a win. I still have not won a single time in Blackout, and tried to find some hella elite players, maybe, and I still don't get it. I don't know. I think I just have to be more patient, but I'm not a very patient person. In Blackout, you definitely need to be patient. So, yeah, it's overall something that I've kind of been playing those modes a lot recently, but I did a little bit of zombies again. It was actually this game that you see right now, and it was some Rush, and I really enjoyed it, and it's kind of gotten me back into the zombies mood. I'd recommend, like, Rush is super fun. I've already made a video on Rush, but if you do not play Plush, if you've never played it before, you're missing out, because on co-op it is an absolute blast, and it's super competitive. But, yeah. Anyways, let's get into this video. This video is going to be a full map review on Voyage of Despair, and since Voyage of Despair is the biggest, most complicated map, it's gonna probably take the most amount of time out of any other zombie map. So yeah, prepare yourselves for a long one, but I think that's what you guys want. I will be doing an in-depth review of everything Voyage of Despair has to offer, whether it is a good map, whether it's disappointing like people say it is, or is it actually a hidden gem? Let's get into it. Voyage of Despair was a controversial map, to say the least, and we are going to begin with controversy right off the bat. Let's talk about the setting and atmosphere of Voyage of Despair. Voyage of Despair takes place on the Titanic, and the Titanic was a setting that I think a lot of people really wanted to happen. A lot of people were really excited about playing zombies on the Titanic, and I was definitely one of those people. In terms of the Titanic itself, it's basically cast in the middle of the sea with no hope of escaping. You even get to see the iceberg that actually hits the Titanic itself, and you get to see it sink in the ending cutscene, which is all really cool. Not only that, the boat is extremely detailed. All the rooms were accurately measured, and there's just a lot of detail. When you look around, you just see very specific things. It makes the whole experience feel real. You see all of the places where people lived, where they dined, places for regular passengers, places for the upperclassmen, supply things. I mean, you generally truly feel like you're on a boat, and the boat is extremely well detailed, really making the experience feel very authentic, as though you were actually there on a boat. As you watch this entire gameplay, I think you should just go and look around at all the areas that I'm going to, all the areas, and you will really realize how detailed to the bone that this map is. Treyarch always does an amazing job with this, and Voyage of Despair is one of the best displays of this in zombies history. But the controversy with this map starts is that the map doesn't really feel specifically like you're on the Titanic. In terms of just being on a boat, the map does a fantastic job, but the map doesn't do that great of a job of distinguishing itself from any other boat zombies map. Milo pointed out that the boat on the Tortured Path in World War II Zombies actually feels a bit more like the Titanic than this map, because it actually like rocks back and forth. And a lot of people were really hoping that this map was going to do something like that as well, where maybe like water would like sink down or something and you'd have to play like underwater. But the map really doesn't feel enough like you're actually on the Titanic. It really could have been any boat that you were on, and if you didn't know the actual layout of what the Titanic really looked like, you really wouldn't be able to distinguish this map other than the fact that of its words. And you might be like, yes, the ending cutscene makes it pretty clear that it's on the Titanic, but when you're just playing the map, honestly, there's not enough. I think they really missed a lot of opportunities. Maybe if they made the boat like rock side to side, and that maybe like caused some like vehicles to like move from left to right, changing the map layout, which is exactly what Sledgehammer did for the Tortured Path, which I thought was really innovative, but they didn't do anything like that. They could have made it potentially that the water would like rise up at some points, and you'd have to deal with zombies that way, but no. The only thing that water does within the map is just there's like a couple downstairs areas that have water, but that you can just easily go and turn it off, and then you don't have to worry about the water for the rest of the game. I think that they really could have done a better job at making it feel like you're on a boat, doing something with the actual layout itself. I think that there's a lot of potential ideas. A lot of people were speculating about these ideas before the map released, and when the map actually released, it felt just a little bit flat. So it's not a bad setting. It's actually a really good setting when you just look at all the detail on the map and how good of a job it does, making you feel like that there is something here. There's something there, and then all of a sudden the zombies come in they just fuck up everything. But in terms of just being a Titanic map, I think they could have done... this map really had the potential for being like an A+ in terms of setting, but I think where it's currently at, it's more at like a B. And I think that because this oversight is so obvious, it really diminishes a lot of people's love for the map. And yeah, it doesn't really help that Voyage of Despair has many other controversial things. Speaking of controversial things, let's talk about the most controversial thing in Voyage of Despair. The map layout. Yeah, let me just explain to you the entire map layout. And then I think you guys can understand why people have problems with it. There's a spawn, which is the forecastle, then there's the mail, then the cargo, the bridge, the officer's room, the first class, the grand staircase, the millionaire's suite, the dining hall, the boat deck, the lounge, the gallery, the promenade, whatever that's called, the palm court, the boiler room, the engine room, the turbine room, the provisions, the third class, the second class, the poop deck. So much stuff, right? And guess what? Even better for you, there is no pattern to it whatsoever. Yes, there is no pattern to it. So, how are you going to figure out all these areas? How are you going to remember which areas take you to which places? Just, guess. If you're a casual, then you're pretty much just screwed. Like, that's what, really, I felt like when I was first playing this map. This map completely turned me off at the beginning of the game, and it was mainly because of this map layout. This map layout is absolutely atrocious, and I really do not know why they made the map layout this complicated. I guess that this was the map that they wanted to make a really complicated map layout for, because all the other maps are pretty easy to remember when it comes to the map layout. So I guess that they wanted to make a map that was really hard to master, but I think that this really takes the limit. I think that they should make at least some consistent pattern. But instead, Treyarch, when making this map layout, decided to just splash a bunch of paint all over a surface, and then whatever they got was how they made this map, because this map is a jumbled mess of different locations. It's just awful. But once you do get a good idea of the map layout, which I have been able to do over the past couple months, then you won't have to worry about it anymore. But damn, the learning curve for this map is way too much and way too unreasonable. But it's kind of like Shadows in the sense that people really don't like it at the beginning. People don't like learning it and mastering it, but once I actually master it, it's pretty fun, and that's kind of where I'm at. But I think other people would argue that even after you understand it, it's still not that fun. Let's talk about those controversies soon, or now. I don't know. Eventually we'll get to them. So, let's talk about the innovation. And the innovation is probably one of the best parts about Voyage of Despair. Voyage of Despair does an amazing job when it comes to content. There's so many intricate little side Easter eggs and additional features that really give a ton of replayability for the map. The first thing we're going to talk about is obviously the Wonder Weapon. I mean, the Wonder Weapon's a pretty big thing when it comes to a zombies map. And this Wonder Weapon is about, I'd say, average to below average. I mean, in terms of power, it's definitely below average. It's actually probably one of the weakest Wonder Weapons out there. But in terms of just funness and how fun it is to use and how balanced it is for the map, it's quite solid. What really stands out about it is that you can get it by either doing an Easter egg, or you could do it by getting it in the box. And that is perfect. Best of both worlds. If you're the type of person who does want to remember all these little Easter eggs, and you can just roll it out of the box. But if you're that type of person who wants to be efficient and wants to learn every single intricate detail and wants to master this map to the fullest, then they can do their thing. And casual players and other players who are just lazy, I'm not saying lazy is a bad thing, just so you know. Like, I'm a lazy player as well. But just people who don't want to do that stuff, it's best of both worlds. The process is fantastic. The weapon itself is called the Kraken, and it pretty much shoots sort of a kind of shotgun-y kind of blast that will kind of stun zombies. They'll kill them on early rounds, but the higher you go, the more amount of shots that it will take. But it's still a really good weapon just due to the amount of ammo that it has in total. You can also upgrade it by killing specific catalyst zombies with these weapon. Why did I say these weapons? This weapon. And you can get 4 different parts from the catalyst zombies: concentrated radiance, concentrated decay, concentrated purity, and concentrated plasma, and each of them will give you a different elemental effect. They're not really elemental, most of them are, but there's one that's kind of wouldn't even really consider an elemental effect, but pretty much 4 special unique effects is kind of what you need to know about that. And it's pretty much like a 4 Wonder Weapon system, except the process to get these elemental effects really is not that complicated. Overall, fun. Some people might be disappointed that these weapons weren't stronger, but I think they're fine as they are. The Wonder Weapon, great addition to the map. The Kraken, great addition. You also got a lot of different side Easter eggs that add a ton of replayability to the map. Like, for example, the shield, which is a standard ballistic shield, but you can upgrade it to give it cryo freeze, and it becomes super powerful and awesome. There's also a flying car Easter egg, which you can get a car to fly over the map and like give you power-ups every single round. It's really helpful. You can also get a free 5th perk on this map if you shoot 5 different fishes on the map. You can also switch your specialist weapon mid-game by doing a special piano Easter egg if you would ever want to do that. There's also an Easter egg that allows you to get 3 free transportational uses, so like teleporters. So if you ever want to use those 3 times around, you'll get those teleporters, which normally cost 500 to cost for free. Just generally a lot of cool things on this map. This map really rewards the veteran players in the sense that if you know more than most people do, you're going to do very well on this map. You're going to have the arsenal that most other players do not, and it's due to your knowledge and being able to understand more than what other players do. And that's kind of what really makes zombies, special, is finding that secret thing or discovering something special and then being able to say, oh, I know this and you don't know. It sounds like a jerk, but that's kind of what zombies players like. Zombies players really do like knowing more and trying to get every single little advantage possible. And this map complements that playstyle perfectly. There's also a music Easter egg, and to do it, you have to shoot 4 colored coins around the map. One is in the lower grand staircase near the Pack-a-Punch pedestal, the second is in the poop deck, the third one is in the forecastle up the stairs near the Danu statue, and the fourth one is the sun deck. There's also a low gravity Easter egg on this map. To do it, you gotta shoot or throw a grenade at the following parts to knock them down and pick them up. Mask. You shoot an explosive or throw an acid grenade at this fan. Then there's the crown. You knock down the crown from here on the bridge once, and then when it lands on another ledge, you must knock it down again to pick it up. And the third part's the trident. You shoot an explosive or throw an acid grenade above the Odin statue. Once you have all 3 parts, you can go place them on this body in the gallery. Once all 3 parts are on him, all zombies will jump around like they're on low gravity. There's also a special Easter egg that allows you to put the Pack-a-Punch in all 4 of its locations. In order to do this, you have to shoot 4 middle pistons in the engine room with 6 shots of the Siren Korin Crasher or 3 shots of any other upgraded elemental Kraken. The pistons should stop moving and there should be lights flashing above some of the sets of 3 red valves around the room. When they are flashing, lights above a set of valves take note of which lights are flashing. If the left light is flashing, interact with the leftmost valve. If the middle one is flashing, interact with the middle one. And if the right light is flashing, interact with the right one. There can be multiple lights that need to be turned at each set of 3 valves. Check all of the lights in the room until you have interacted with the necessary valves. Once all of the valves are in the correct positions, interact with the switch in the turbine room. If done correctly, the Pack-a-Punch should be at every location for the remainder of that round. You can also use the Pack-a-Punch to regain ammo back for the gun you put it in for 5,000 points. Pretty useful stuff. Now let's talk about the specific core features of the map that most maps have. So the first thing is the Pack-a-Punch. In order to get it, you have to activate 4 Pack-a-Punch pedestals around the map. One of them's the cargo hold, the turbine room, the poop deck, and lastly the lower grand staircase. this Pack-a-Punch location is fine. Or, I mean, yeah, the locations themselves are fine, the process is fine. But really, my issue is that you have to, like, go to those specific locations. And since they're very far away and this map is so huge and it's very widespread, getting to some of these locations can be pretty tedious if you're not near the locations. So that is one thing that bothers me. I wish that they'd just be in every single one of those locations. For how big the map is, I think that it needs that, but I didn't design the map, and that's what they decided to do. There's 8 mystery box locations around the map. The first one is the upper grand staircase, then there's the lower grand staircase, then the first class lounge, the mail rooms, the boat deck, the aft decks, the boiler room, and the dining hall. There's also 8 different fast travel methods around the map, and I'm not going to name them all in depth, but while that sounds like a lot, that's actually not enough for what this map needs. This map is so huge and widespread that it honestly needs a lot more fast travel methods. One of my bigger issues with this map is just how long it takes to get around to different areas of the map. And these fast travel methods, it's not enough in order to make the map as tedious as it is just to get to different areas. The map is like 80 million football fields. It's so goddamn huge. I don't like it, but I guess that's what they wanted to do. But I guess that's really the limitations of making a big map. They really should have just had more transportational locations where you could actually maybe choose which teleporter area you went to. Maybe if they did that, that'd be really awesome, but unfortunately you can't do that. There's also interactable water in the cargo hold and the boiler room, and basically while you're in there you can drain the water by holding square, and the water will drain. And I'm honestly pretty disappointed by the water. I thought that the water would have more of a role on this map. I mean, that would make sense because, well, it's the frickin' Titanic. And I was kind of disappointed by the fact that it's all, you can disable the water and then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the game. I thought that the water would maybe have a bigger role in the map. I don't know. Dreamers can dream, I guess. I also kind of wish that it was easier to survive in the water, because when you look at other maps like Zetsubo Noshima that had water in them, Zetsubo actually made the zombies slower when you're in the water, but in Voyage of Despair, you're slower, but the zombies are still just as fast, so it's just a pure downgrade being in the water. And maybe that's why they did it, but I don't know. I was hoping that water would have more of an impact on this map, but they just didn't do that, and I really don't know why. I really was hoping that the water would be something, pretty cool on the map. Like, it really could have added to the atmosphere of feeling like you're on the Titanic on a sinking boat, but unfortunately there is none of that. I'm still hoping for the day where Trek decides to make the map layout interactable and interchangeable throughout the match, but they had an opportunity there, but they missed it. There are 6 total boss zombies on this map. 5 of them are returning from the map 9, and one of them's new. That new one is the Stoker, and it uses a shovel to swing and send burning coal flying towards you. It's pretty much the Gladiator equivalents on this map. And the other ones are the 4 different catalyst zombies, the fire, poison, electric, and water, and then the big giant Blightfather. I'm really disappointed by the boss zombies. One of the things about this map is that the atmosphere it doesn't feel like a chaos sort of storyline, especially when you compare it to 9. 9 really does a great job at making you feel in the moment, in the zone. But I don't know, the Catalyst zombies and the Blightfather do not really feel the same. It's kind of like they're just putting them in just for the sake of putting them in, but it doesn't actually really feel like they belong there. It feels like they belong a lot more on 9. But on this map, it really does not feel like that. I don't know. That's one of my big problems with Voyage of Despair. I feel like they just copy and pasted a lot of the stuff from 9, and it just doesn't feel right to belong on this map. While it feels very well on 9. Like, a good example of this is the perks. Like, the perks are based on, like, gods and stuff, and 9, there's, like, the 4 different god statues, so it makes sense that the perks are there, and they represent those gods. But with this, it's kind of like, what the heck? Like, why are these here? I don't know. I think that they really fucked up when it came to that part. I think they should have had just own unique perk perk icons, or maybe just use the original ones. Also, speaking of perk jingles, why the hell did they say the same goddamn perk jingles every single time? Remember in like Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, where it's like each perk had a unique perk jingle, but with this it's like the same one for every single one. I do not get that whatsoever. I don't know. Who am I to judge? Man like Jarek is just gods, you know, and we can trust everything they do, right? Right? Yeah, right. Power is literally just the Sentinel artifact. You pretty much just go to the opposite side of the map and then turn it on. Pretty easy overall. Standard just takes 4 doors to get there. Overall, pretty nice. Let's move on. In terms of storyline, it's pretty much the 4 Chaos crew characters, and they end up boarding the RMS Titanic to pull off a daring heist involving a mysterious artifact. But a giant iceberg will be the least of their problems. They end up escaping, but the future is unclear. But we do know that Bruno has possibly turned evil. There is more to the storyline, and I could go in depth, but I'm gonna let the storyline people do that. There's also 4 different ciphers on the map, and if you are wondering what they say, this is what they mean. The Horde will not be contained. Prove your worthiness. That which you need is within reach. You have questions of your family's history. You may not like where the answers lead. You must be empowered. The Horde will not yield. And in terms of gameplay features, I think we're pretty much done with Voyage of Despair in terms of everything we've discovered so far. Let's now talk about the Easter egg quest. I haven't done it yet, but I'll tell you the instructions right now if you want a quick summary of what this Easter egg is. So, yeah. It's gonna be pretty long, but hang in there with me. You first gotta retrieve the Sentinel artifact at the poop deck, then activate Pack-a-Punch. Once you activate Pack-a-Punch, 4 of 6 clocks will change its time. For the clocks to change time, one of the Pack-a-Punch elemental symbols will spawn nearby. The spawns for the clocks and symbols are in the mailroom. There is a clock on the wall on the right side of the doorway leading down to the cargo hold, and the symbol is underneath the stairs leading up to the room with the Vapor XKG wall by. On the bridge, the clock is right behind the 4 dials. There is a room with the steering wheel. Right above the steering wheel, there is a clock, and the symbol is, when looking at the steering wheel clock, the symbol is underneath a desk, diagonally back right behind you. In the upper grand staircase, the clock is at the top of the staircase, engraved in a wooden carving on the wall. And the symbol is, when looking at the clock, turn to the right up the small steps and turn right again, and you will see a symbol above a door. In the first class lounge, the clock is in the middle of the lounge. There is a fireplace. The clock is on the fireplace. The symbol is, when looking at the mystery box in the first class lounge, look to the left and you will see the symbol on the right side of the wall. In the gallery, the clock is in the room with the body hanging on the wall. With your back to the body on the wall, there's a clock on the wall to the left, and the symbol is, when your back is to the wall with the body on it, there is cabinets to the left. A symbol is on the cabinet. In the third class berths, the clock is there when going down to the turbine. When you get to the end of the wooden stairs, there is a clock on the wall that you face to the left, and the symbol is behind some luggage next to the wooden stairs going up. You will then notice that on the bridge in front of the captain's wheel there are 4 turnable dials. The dials will have the elemental symbols on them correlating to the clock with the same symbol nearby. What you must do is align the dials of the bridge to the minutes of the clock with the same element. The dials move left or right in 5-minute intervals. The dial at the engine room and on the poop deck where the Sentinel artifact was activated change the hour of the dials. When properly aligned with the clocks, you will hear a noise and no longer be able to change the dials. And the hour hand dial locations and corresponding symbols are in the poop deck or right, poop deck left, engine room right, engine room left. Around the map there are outlets. 4 of the outlets will be spawning a different element. You must kill an elemental catalyst of the same element next to the outlet. This can be done once per round. You must go a round after each kill. When you do it correctly, there will be a ritual symbol on the ground where you killed the catalyst. The outlet locations are in the staterooms, the 3rd class berths, the dining hall, next to the Zeus statue in the 1st class lounge, the upper grand staircase, and in the window on the aft docks. When you have every player stand on the ritual symbol, it will start to glow. You must have every player hold the interact button to be teleported into a trial where you must defeat every enemy. When done correctly, your screen will turn gray for a second and you will be able to pick up the Sentinel artifact. Do this for each of the 4 ritual circles, and when completed, you will be able to pick up the real Sentinel artifact. Also, you must complete them in the following order corresponding to which type of zombie you killed at the ritual circle: poison, water, electric, then fire. Next, shoot 9 leaking blue pipes around the turbine room with the poison upgrade of the Kraken. Once you have shot all of them, the water will start leaking in the boiler room and put out all the fires. Place the artifact in the pack-a-punch. When it's in the engine room, it will teleport to the engine room the next round if it's not already there, and interact with each planet symbol in any order. The planet locations are the Sun in the forecastle, Mercury in the mailrooms, Venus in the millionaire suite, the Moon in the lower grand staircase, Mars in the boiler room, Saturn in the bridge, Jupiter in the engine room, Neptune in the aft decks, and Uranus in the stateroom. Then interact with the solar system model in the cargo hold. The planets will flash in order you need to shoot the planets in. When you shoot a planet, a blue orb will fall from the sky and land in the corresponding planet symbol location. You must interact with the blue orb before a timer runs out. Repeat this for each planet in the order until you reach the Sun. The final blue orb will be in the forecastle at the front of the ship. Once you interact with it, it will spawn in ice blocks around the map. You must choose a path and destroy ice blocks with powerful weapons on your way to the poop deck where you first encounter the Sentinel artifact.